Sheriff Nate Craven and his men discovered a decomposing body inside a cloth bag hidden in a tree. The body was severely mutilated, with pieces of flesh carefully removed, likely with a sharp object. It had been butchered cleanly, yet not a single drop of blood was present. After the officers collected evidence, the sheriff returned the body to its hiding spot, believing the killer might come back. He enlisted 2 local hunters, Owens and Dodge, to stake out the area from the bushes, only to observe. Sheriff Craven returned to the station to share photos of the victim with nearby cities, hoping another sheriff might identify the body. When Nate returned to the crime scene, the killer had indeed come back for their prey, but had also taken the 2 hunters, leaving no trace behind. 2 months later, Sheriff Craven met with his good friend Carl Winters, the head coroner of the Montague County Coroner's Office. They discussed an explosion that had caused the deaths of 10 miners. Craven also told stories about the missing people, including the 2 hunters. In the days that followed, the victim was identified as Abel Doherty, a transient worker who often visited a bar called Trucker's Tavern. Witnesses reported that Abel was last seen talking to Eddie Sykes, an old friend who initially denied knowing him. Eventually, Eddie, now going by the name Joe Allen, convinced Abel to pretend to be drunk so he could drive him home without raising suspicion. However, Eddie was no longer fully human. There was something unnatural about his eyes, and he seemed to possess a hypnotic power. 9 months earlier, Eddie had vanished after venturing into the woods alone to watch a meteor shower. He later reappeared as Joe Allen, working at a mining site. When Sheriff Craven connected Joe to Abel's murder and other disappearances, he searched Joe's apartment. There, the sheriff discovered Abel's documents and other incriminating evidence, along with a strange, hairy sphere that Joe had taken from the meteor shower. Sheriff Craven took the sphere and went to the mines to question Joe. Realizing he had been discovered, Joe smashed the sheriff's car window to steal the sphere and fled into the mine. Moments later, he jumped into the elevator shaft, and an explosion occurred, killing himself and 9 others. The mining company tried to pin the tragedy on Joe, calling him a madman with a bomb to avoid paying compensation to the victims' families. One of the reasons Dr. Winters was brought in was to investigate and prove that no bomb was involved. Since Craven couldn't officially involve Dr. Winters, he set up a makeshift morgue where Carl could examine the bodies in peace. The morgue was fully equipped with the necessary tools, refrigeration, and a pedal-activated recorder for Carl to take notes. Carl advised Craven to call it a night since he looked like he really needed some rest. Carl began preparing the tools needed for the autopsy. He examined the evidence and started with the body found farthest from Joe, suspecting it would hold the most clues if a bomb had been involved. Before starting the procedure, he paid his respects to the deceased. He then made an incision, cutting through the skin and removing the bones to examine the body. All internal organs showed signs of damage from respiratory distress and concussive trauma, but there was no evidence of a bomb explosion. As he walked toward the second body, he felt a strange chill. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up, and his gut told him to leave. But despite his fear, his curiosity pushed him to keep going. The next body, discovered closer to Joe, unsettled him. Its chest bore a single puncture wound near the sternum, angled with surgical precision toward the heart, an injury that defied explanation by an explosion. More horrifying, however, was the complete absence of blood. Not a drop remained in the veins or on the ground. When Carl examined the third body, he found the same precise wound and the same eerie absence of blood. A chilling realization washed over him. Something was profoundly wrong with these bodies. When Carl went to retrieve Joe's body for examination, it suddenly came to life. The corpse dropped to the ground and began crawling toward Carl. Then it grabbed a scalpel, cut its own mouth open, and begged Carl for help. Inside, Joe was an alien parasite, that had arrived on Earth in a mysterious sphere. The alien explained that it had destroyed its ship to remain hidden, but was now trapped in Joe's decaying body. It needed a new host to survive. The alien attacked Carl. When he woke up, he was tied to the autopsy bed and realized the alien parasite planned to take over his body. The creature explained that its kind couldn't see or hear and relied on their hosts for those senses. They fed on flesh and blood, but this particular being thrived on sadistic pleasure. It kept its hosts awake and aware, forcing them to suffer. Carl watched in terror as the creature cut itself open, revealing its true form. Carl noticed that the alien couldn't sense him until it had transferred into his body. When the parasite emerged, he seized the opportunity to fight back. But, unable to kill it, Carl made the ultimate sacrifice. He blinded and deafened himself, cut his throat, and used his own blood to write a message on his chest. Carl trapped the alien inside his dying body, leaving it helpless. When Sheriff Craven arrived, he saw his dead friend's body lying in a pool of blood. Written on Carl's chest was a message: "Play tape, burn me."
If you loved this recap, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss out on more free movie recaps. Got a movie in mind that you want us to break down? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.